with dinosaurs.
In the Victorian era, it was a fashion of dinosaurs. So places so isolated, you were trying to find living dinosaurs. And the real fact is that they are still living there. The plants that you can find there, they are evolving from the Cretaceous. So to Conan Doyle or to Thurn, it would be very easy to find or to discover some kind of dinosaur. And still, there are people who swear that they have seen dinosaurs. I don't know what they smoke, but actually, dinosaurs for me are the things that I see on the correct size, not huge. But in the tepuis, in some places, you can be like God, because you create. You are the first person in one of these mountains, and many of these places and mountains are absolutely unexplored still. And when you are on top of the mountain, you say, let it be this Drosera. And this little carnivorous plant is a new species. And no one ever seen that plant. And you give it to the world. There you are. And you send to some specialist and say, name this. So you are creating things that never existed. Forms, shapes, leaves, colors that no one has described before. So you feel that incredible power of making things appear. If you don't look at them, they disappear forever. If you look at them, you create them. This is the experience and the feeling I have on top of a tepui.
One of these tepui is home to the highest waterfall on Earth, Angel Falls, almost a kilometre high. The falls got their name from a pilot and adventurer in the 1930s called Jimmy Angel. Like many before him, he was certain that he'd spotted gold on top of a tepui from his plane. His only problem was how to get at the gold. It's not easy to land on a tepui. After checking for a suitable way down, he decided it was worth the risk. But just as he feared, he crashed and had to walk out. To make matters worse, he hadn't found any gold, but he had discovered the falls, hence the name Angel Falls. He and they became so famous that his plane was lifted from the top of the tepui by helicopter and now stands outside the airport of the city of Ciudad Bolivar. By now I was well into my journey, enjoying the routine and savouring the feeling of being out on the trail. The patches of forest at this junction between jungle and savanna were getting smaller and smaller, and each time I stepped out into the open I really appreciated the vistas and the liberated feeling of having a horizon once more. But however well defined your path, it's always good to verify your position with the GPS or Global Positioning System. So navigation becomes far more manageable even in areas like this where mapping is still in its infancy. A satellite phone is another essential piece of equipment for wilderness expeditions, whether you're using it for helicopter logistics support or a medical emergency. It can make a real and telling difference to the success of your trip. So what time is the helicopter due? Yep, that's perfect. And they're bringing extra fuel. Yep, that's great. Brilliant, yep. Catch you tomorrow. Take care. Bye. In this age of GPS, satellite phones and air travel, it's sometimes hard to imagine the hardships and timescales of some of the earliest visitors to this region. Perhaps the most moving illustration of this is the tale of Isabella Godin and her husband, who were separated at opposite ends of the Amazon during the early 18th century. She was a native of Peru who met her French husband Jean in the headwaters of the Amazon where she lived. He was taking part in an attempt to measure the circumference of the earth. By the time the job was over, they had had 2 children and were expecting a third. So Isabella stayed put while Jean set off to arrange passage home to France. He wouldn't see his wife again for 20 years. Isabella had to endure heartbreak and uncertainty as her children died of disease, and she waited anxiously for news of her husband. For over a decade, Jean struggled to find a way back to his wife and family. I can scarcely imagine how she must have felt when over 10 years after Jean had left, Isabella heard rumours that a boat had finally been sent upriver to collect her. Were the rumours true? And if so, in which of the many rivers that formed the headwaters of the Amazon was it waiting? Even today, mapping of the Amazon is sketchy at best, but in the 1760s, she wouldn't have had a clue where she was. Nonetheless, Isabella wasn't going to let her chance pass, and so she set out on the arduous journey with a small group of family and friends. Any journey through jungle is difficult, but travelling to an uncertain destination without even knowing whether your husband was alive must have been terrible. Incredibly, she did meet up with the boat, but her troubles were far from over. Arriving at a village destroyed by smallpox, her crew deserted, but she had made it this far and wasn't about to turn back. Remember, it's now 16 years since she last saw her husband, and she had lost 3 children. She cobbled together a crew from the last survivors of the village and the remains of her own party, and set off downriver in an old battered canoe. River travel is always hazardous. There are submerged logs, rocks and treacherous currents, and they were hardly the best crew. Progress was difficult to say the least, and her supplies would have been running low. At times she must have wondered why she had ever set out on such an epic journey. It was like a bad dream you can't wake up from, but this was one determined lady. With progress slowing, Isabella welcomed the offer by 3 volunteers to race for help. But maybe she should have questioned their motives when they insisted on taking her jewellery. They never returned. As her party died one by one, Isabella was left with no choice but to try and walk out of the forest on her own. No one knows how far she walked. She would have been delirious with hunger, but what we do know is that somehow she made it. 20 years after they parted, she was finally reunited with her husband Jean. As I neared my destination, I was coming across more signs of the village up ahead. The Pemon often burn an area of savanna to encourage new growth. The young shoots attract animals that make hunting easier. One more night in a patch of jungle before we made it to the village, and by now the crew were so used to putting up their hammocks they had started to personalize them. But even when you're near the end of your journey, it's important to keep to established routines like washing and take every opportunity to replenish your water supplies. The jungle may be beautiful, but the humidity can sap your strength and leave you seriously dehydrated. My hammock is a wonderful thing. It's a sanctuary. It's just great. There is no better moment in the day than that moment when you put your hammock up and you lie in it and you take the weight off of your jungle boots for the first time in the day. It is a sheer heavenly moment.